Greetings, friends. It's an honor once again to welcome you back to Rick's Garage. What I have in the garage today is a 2010 Ford Fusion. If you're familiar with my channel, you know I only work on friends and family vehicles since my retirement. This vehicle belongs to my sister-in-law. She's a widow on a fixed income, so I try to help her out from time to time. Last week she came to visit us, and after she left, I noticed a little puddle of oil in the driveway where she had parked her car. So I called her and told her that when she had a chance, bring it by and I'll see if I can figure out what's going on. My original intent was not to attempt to film this repair, simply for the time factor. I thought she'd be waiting for the car, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but when you're attempting to film a job, it usually takes 3 times as long. You have to, try to get good camera angles, and so it's not easy to film a repair. It's always a challenge trying to give your audience a good view of what you're doing and having room to work. So where she was going to wait for the car, I decided it wasn't worth filming. However, once I realized that I could not finish the car yesterday, I gave her one of my cars to take home. And now I've got plenty of time, so I'm going to go ahead and film this job. So you're coming in with the job already in progress. I have put the car up on jack stands, and I've removed the 2 covers that you see here. These covers are held on with a series of small bolts. This one is 10mm bolts, this one is 8mm bolts, and this one has some of those plastic rivets in addition. This is the cover under the engine, and this is the cover under the radiator. Fairly straightforward removing them, so I don't think it's really necessary for you to see it. Now, when you're looking for an oil leak, a lot of people fret over that. What happens is the entire undercarriage of the car gets saturated with oil. This is because when you're driving down the road at highway speeds, the car is encountering almost hurricane force winds. So that kind of helps you find the oil. When someone looks under the car and see the whole area saturated, they're kind of at a loss at where to start looking. Well, it's very simple. It's not rocket science. When you're driving down the road, the oil is blowing back toward the rear of the car. In general, what you want to start in your search for the oil leak is the frontmost area where you see the oil. Now here, removing those panels, it's very clear to see. Here's the cover, like I said, underneath the radiator, and here's the cover underneath the engine. Well, you can see right here that the radiator cover has oil on it. So that means that this oil is coming from underneath the radiator. Well, the only place that oil goes into the radiator is the transmission coolant lines. So that's the first thing we're going to investigate. Okay, friends, we're under the car, and it's fairly easy to see where the oil is leaking from. It's coming right here where this little rubber retainer is. Evidently salt and water got trapped in there, and it caused the steel tubing to rust out. Okay, friends, this is the part you're going to need. It is Ford part number BE5Z-7R081A. It even has the little retainers that you can connect in to hold it in place. These are the things that I believe caused the problem. It's got the Ford quick disconnect hoses. Now, one other thing you'll need is this special quick disconnect tool. I got this at O'Reilly Auto Parts. This is specifically made for Ford vehicles. It is part number 39960. These little quick disconnect tools will fit inside this area here, and will help you slide the tubing out. Okay, friends, the first thing we're going to do is get a couple things out of the way here so we can access this top coolant line. So I'm going to take an 8mm socket, and I'm going to remove this little bracket here that holds the filler neck for the window washer out of the way. It's on a flexible tube, so there's no worry about sliding it out of the way. And then I'm going to undo this little clip here. And I'm going to take this air conditioning hose, and I'm going to take a little bungee cord, and I'm going to tie it off out of the way. Now I'm going to take a pair of pliers on this little hose clamp. There we go. All right, that's out of the way. All right, so now we're going to take my hose pliers, and I'm going to slide this little hose off, give it a few little twists. There we go, that's out of the way. A little bit of coolant will drip out, but not much. All right, so with all that stuff out of the way, we ought to be able to get at this little connection here. Now we should have just enough room to unloosen this top connection here. All right, I might be able to get it with my fingers. It wasn't that tight. Okay, so that's disconnected. That's all we need to do up here. Now we're going to attempt to unloosen the lower coolant line. Hopefully we can get on it and turn it, and that seemed to turn fairly easily, like the other one did. See if we can give it a few turns without blocking your vision too badly. Got a little holes in the way here that's kind of giving us some grief. Trying to avoid blocking your vision, but it's almost impossible. It's on a little bit of an angle, so that's why I had a little trouble getting on it. There we go. All right, so it's loose enough I can grab it with my finger. I'll do that off camera because I'm going to be blocking your vision anyway. Okay, I really can't see what you're seeing. I hope you can see this. But there are two little locking mechanisms made out of plastic that prevent these from coming apart. And they just clip off. You can grab them right with your fingers and just slip it right off. It's my sincere hope that this is what will happen. Should be able to push them right off. Well, I'm going to grab a little screwdriver. Maybe that'll help me with that. I had already taken the other one off. The other one came right off with my fingers, but this one's being a little bit stubborn, so I'm going to use a screwdriver to help push it off out of the way. There we go. All right, that's off. Now comes the fun part. I've got to use that new special tool to disconnect these lines. So the object is to slide this over the pipe. There we go. I want to get it the other way. Okay. Yeah. Well, it actually looks like it's in there. Let's see if we can pull that out. There goes my light. There it is. Came out. Okay, so it worked. And a little bit of fluid came out as well. So it is a messy job. All right, I don't know what degree you saw that, but I'm going to attempt to do the other one. Okay, friends, off camera I disconnected the other line. It was basically the same procedure. I know you didn't get a terribly good view of it, and I did the best I could. So now with everything disconnected, it's a simple matter of pulling off these little retainers. I'm using a panel tool to try to pop them out. Looks like this one's out. We got another one right here. That one's out. Okay. All right, the only thing I think preventing us from pulling this old oil line down is this wire harness right here. I don't know how well you can see it, but this wire harness goes underneath the tubing. So we've got to disconnect it and slide it above the tubing so that we can pull the tubing down. So there's a connection right here that I'm going to try to get behind and slide out. Sorry, I'm hitting the camera. And there appears to be another one right here. Okay, so now that I've got that pretty much free, I can try to put it above the pipe that I'm trying to remove. There, now that'll come down and hopefully I can get it out. Okay friends, I got the old part out. It was a messy, messy, messy job. I've got transmission fluid all over me. At one point I got some in my mouth. Without a lift, this is a very difficult job. But anyway, we got the old one out. Once I got that harness out of the way that you saw, I was able to twist it here and there and get the rest of it out, spilling transmission fluid the whole time. So I think I'm going to end the video here. The procedure going back will be exactly the same. The hard part will be snaking it back up where toward the top. One thing to keep in mind as you put it back together, there's a little O-ring right here on the new part. And as I look on the old part, there is no O-ring. So that tells me that the O-ring is still stuck in the radiator. You're going to have to take a little pick and get that old O-ring out of there so you don't have two O-rings, otherwise you may have a leak. You're not going to need that special tool to put it back together again. The new one will just clip right in. Then once you get it in, you can lock it in place with one of these. You just clip right like that, and that prevents it from coming apart. Not that it would come apart anyway. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to let this thing leak overnight. Anything that's going to drip, I'll let it drip overnight. Tomorrow morning I'll be nice and clean. I'll clean up the floor, and I should have a fairly easy time of it putting this back. The most difficult part being trying to snake this back up where it belongs. And just to remind you, make sure you get the O-ring out of the radiator so you don't wind up with a double O-ring. So that's all I've got for Rick's Garage. Good luck putting it back together again. Before I go, I will post 2 videos to your left. Feel free to click on one or the other should you find one of interest. And to your right will be a picture of my avatar in the form of my trusty German Shepherd. Please, by all means, feel free to click on that if you wish to subscribe. So thanks again for watching, and we hope to see you all again very, very soon.